How's it going, guys? It's Pineapple back again with another top 5 unanswered mysteries in My Hero Academia. Sorry for the brief little absence that I just had. I was working a lot of shifts at my job, and my computer is honestly hanging on by a thread, right? Like, if I don't have it in the exact position it's in right now, the charger doesn't want to work. So I don't know if it's the port or if it's the charger or what's going on. I might need a new computer. Like, it's kind of scary because this is like kind of, you know, my main focus really outside of work and everything. So yeah, here's hoping that the computer doesn't just give out. If you don't hear from me for a little bit, that's what's going on, though. I'm not trying to take a break intentionally or anything like that. So let's get this upload out. We're going to talk about today's top 5 unsolved mysteries. But first, we obviously have a bonus question because, you know, we do these videos if you've been watching any of the videos in this series, which you can check in the playlist that's going right here in the top. Yep, right there is a little playlist right there you can click on and see all the other unsolved questions that we've had to ask in this series so far. But the first bonus question for the viewers is going to be, what do you think Shigaraki's reaction to Twice's death was like? Right? Like, we didn't really get to see it in the manga in any way, shape, or form. But after Shigaraki's rage at the Meta Liberation Army, right? Like, during the My Villain Academia arc, after his rage at them, or Redestro really specifically, at pissing Twice off or really getting under Twice's skin and like taking his friend and everything, what do you think his reaction to Twice's death was like? If it just happened like off screen or something, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think the actual reaction to that was like? Or do you think it's a case where like Shigaraki has no idea still, really, that Twice died and that All For One is kind of like messing with Shigaraki's head to a certain extent to kind of keep that like from coming to the forefront? Like, maybe Shigaraki just has bigger problems to deal with than to like count the individual members of the group who are still around, right? Or like maybe he thinks Twice is somewhere to the side. We don't know. Like, we haven't gotten like an actual confirmation that he knows Twice is gone, or like a scene showing him reacting to that, and that kind of flies in the face of a little bit of the characterization of Shigaraki and Twice's kind of friendship in the My Villain Academia arc, right? Like, you would think that that would be a little important to everyone who wasn't there for it, right? Like, eventually we would get their reaction, but we still have yet to not get a reaction from Shigaraki in regards to Twice's death. So that's my question that I'm asking you guys. The bonus question straight for the viewers. I want to see it in the comment section below. What do you think Shigaraki's reaction was like? Or what do you think it should have been like, or would be like, if he still doesn't know it yet, right? And do you think he knows that Twice is gone, or do you think maybe he doesn't know yet? So now that that's out of the way, let's get to the 5 important questions that we have left to answer in My Hero Academia, with number 1 being a very, very ambiguous question that was kind of left to us during one of the more recent war arcs, right? I guess the most recent war arc. And that question is, who is the father of Nana's child, right? Like, Nana is obviously Tenko or Shigaraki's grandmother, right? So like, Tenko's dad, I forgot maybe his name is Kotaro, right? Let's go with Kotaro. Kotaro is Nana's son, right? Who Nana abandoned because she was being hunted down by All For One, right? And who is the father of that child, right? You know what I mean? Like, who is, not to get all Mori, right? But who is the father of, I wish I could actually be Mori and get the paperwork right now and figure it out on my own. But it's kind of left ambiguous as far as I remember. Like, there is a lot of people in the fandom who think, and this is, I guess, the second part to the question, that it's Gran Torino, actually, right? There's a lot of people who think that Gran Torino is the father of Kotaro, right? And that makes him Tenko's grandfather, right? And that kind of, like, further works him into the One For All kind of like family plot line or whatever. It's not really a family, but more so and so it does become a family. But yeah, who is the father to Tenko's dad, Kotaro, or Nana's son, Kotaro? And is it Gran Torino? And I know a lot of people who are hearing like Gran Torino, you know what I mean? They're kind of like, but those two were partners for a very, very long time. And we did see that very, very emotional reaction to Gran Torino seeing Nana leave her son behind, or like, you know, knowing that she had to leave her son behind, and that hug and that embrace between the two of them. And I believe there was like a line of dialogue or something that like Gran Torino was thinking that kind of made it seem like, or at least it implied to a certain extent, that he was involved in some way, that like it was their decision, you know what I mean? And it would only really be their decision, beyond the fact that Gran Torino always has his hand in like the All For One, One For All plotline, and he's probably very big into like, you know, hey, we have to do things sometimes to like keep people safe, even though it'll hurt us or hurt them maybe. He's that kind of hero, right? Who's willing to make sacrifices to get back at All For One, or to like keep safe from All For One. Outside of like that kind of mentor role or partner role that he might have had with Nana at the time, I don't know why it would have been like their decision, right? So that is the first unsolved mystery that we have left in My Hero Academia. I don't know if it's going to be answered, but is Gran Torino actually the grandfather of Shigaraki, pretty much, right? Like, were he and Nana involved in that way? And if so, is he the father of Kotora, right? And if not, very valid, right? If not, who is? You know what I mean? Is it relevant at all? If not, if we don't ever learn who it is, like if we just learn that it's not Gran Torino, maybe that's like, you know, spoon-fed to us a little better, and we don't find out who it is, I'm fine with that, right? Like, I'm fine if not every mystery has to be answered, but I would want to know if it is Gran Torino. Like, I feel like that would be important to know, just like in the dynamic of everything that's going on, just for like the narrative structure and other stuff like that too, right? Like, if he is Shigaraki's grandfather, like, it makes the events of the war arc and everything that's happened so far so much sadder to a certain extent, right? Because you just have family fighting family, but that happens a lot in My Hero Academia. And to keep on that theme of family fighting family, I guess, we have the second unsolved mystery in this video, which is going to be, how did All For One know about Toya and Tenko's personal lives enough to take advantage of them to try to manipulate them into his hands, right? So to repeat that again, how did All For One know about Toya and Tenko's personal lives enough to take advantage of what was going on in their personal lives to pretty much make them his villains, right? To a certain extent, or at least in Toya's case, try to make them his villains. Is it the case that, like, All For One was watching Toya the whole time, right? Like, trying to take Endeavor's son away specifically? And what would have happened if he did manage to do exactly that? Like, what was he just planning on kidnapping Toya at some point and being like, hey, become a villain, just kind of like how he did to Bakugo, right? Like, what would have happened there? Would we have seen like a whole kind of Endeavor or I guess Toya rescue arc where we have to worry about like Endeavor going after All For One to save Toya, or like Toya potentially being turned into a High-End no more, something like that? I guess that was kind of hinted at, right, in the Dabi backstory, that he sees the High-End and he's like, this is probably what you would have done to me if I stayed in that lab, you know, you would have turned me into one of these things. So that's kind of my question, right? It's a little weird that All For One happens to be there in the forest after Toya burns up and everything. Like, when did he become aware of their very kind of personal family drama that was playing out in that house? Like, who told him about that? Like, how did he learn about that at all? You know what I mean? Like, it was something that was kept very, very under wraps that society doesn't know about. No one knows about besides the people in that family. So how did he know to, like, go find Toya when Toya was raging out in the forest? Does he just walk around forest looking for, like, quirk users who are having a bad day to make them into villains? Like, what? It can't just be a coincidence, right? And I feel like going on to the theory that All For One was the one that brought Tenko home, which I believe is confirmed, right? I believe it's confirmed just from him having the hat when he went to find Toya, right? And the parallels that there is just between those two scenes in general. But I think, despite whether or not All For One is the person who brought Tenko home, he still capitalized on the whole situation going on of Tenko and his family at a very, very, like, opportune moment, right? And it's like, what are these these can't just be coincidences. You know what I mean? Like, you're finding these people at the perfect moment to flip them over to the side of villains and take them under your wing, pretty much. He has to be watching these people to a certain extent, but, like, how does he know who to watch? How does he pick? Like, what level of surveillance is going on with All For One where he knows to just enter into these people's lives, right? And, like, turn them into villains, right? Like, that's kind of my question. Like, how does All For One know about people's personal lives enough to take advantage of them? Not just Tenko and not just Toya, but, like, you know, how does he do that? How does he know? How do you guys think? You think maybe he has, like, some other kind of surveillance quirk that we haven't seen? Or maybe he's just really, really good at, like, blending into the neighborhood and he really, really watches and picks certain targets, like certain big heroes or certain people, and like, oh, you have a family, let's see if I could, like, take someone from there and turn them into a villain, and maybe that's just going to be one backup plan that I have for the future, and this is going to be another plan and stuff like that. Like, let's see what happens, right? Because we know that All For One was trying to turn Shirakumo or Aizawa into villains, or like taking them under his wing in My Hero Academia Vigilantes, right? So this is the thing that he does. He just takes people and turns them into villains, but, like, how does he know the inner workings of their life? That's the question I want you guys to answer. How does he know the inner workings of people's lives? And yeah, let's move on to the next question. Unsolved mystery number 3 left in My Hero Academia in this video is going to be, can Shirakumo regain control of his body permanently, or will Kurogiri remain the dominant personality? Now, this goes into stuff that I don't know if we're going to see again, right? Honestly, like, before I was expecting Kurogiri to be important in the war arc that just passed, right? But we didn't see him anywhere. I felt like his presence in the story right before the war arc was hinting that maybe Shirakumo was going to break out or something like that was going to happen, and then we didn't end up seeing that, right? And we saw Shirakumo a little tiny bit, or I guess Kurogiri a little tiny bit, in this war arc where Monoma goes of Aizawa to copy Shirakumo's quirk, or I really should say Kurogiri's quirk, to create all the portals for the war arc to pretty much go the way that the heroes are planning for it to go in this arc. But my idea previously, I don't know if I ever like put this in a video, I definitely might have tweeted it, but my idea previously was that before, during the war arc, I thought the heroes were going to lose, right? The previous war arc, I thought the heroes were going to lose, and I thought that Kurogiri was going to play a very, very similar kind of role to Kuma in One Piece. Like, we know that Horikoshi is inspired by Oda in very, very certain ways, right? I feel like just the whole smoke quirk in and of itself is like a big homage to Smoker, which we know that Hori sent in fan art of to Oda a long time ago, blah, blah, blah. Unimportant Horikoshi lore stuff. So my idea was that I thought Kurogiri was going to play a very, very similar role to Kuma, right? By like, at the very, very end of the war arc, when all the heroes are about to lose and like everything is done and the villains look like they're about to take over Japan, I thought Kurogiri would pull like a Kuma and teleport all of the heroes away to various different places on the planet, right? Sending Deku to America, Momo to like Italy or something. Like, everyone just gets sent to different places and has to separate for the sake of their growth, right? Like, you have to sacrifice Japan for the time being, right? Like, leave Japan to Shigaraki and the villains, let them think that they won. Now the hunt really begins. Like, if Shigaraki and All for One want to go after One for All, now they have to leave the bounds of Japan, but they can't really do that because they have to establish like a base and all this stuff there. Like, I really, really thought we were going to get into some crazy stuff, and I thought that was going to lead to a time skip and everything. So I've always put a lot of importance on Kurogiri / Shirakumo, right? Just from the scene of Aizawa breaking through to Shirakumo, right? And having his like his mist going crazy and everything like that. I thought that was a sign that something like that was going to happen, right? But clearly that's not the case now. But I do think, now look, a lot of people have been saying My Hero Academia is ending, right? I believe we've heard it even from like Weekly Shonen Jump, from Horikoshi, from everybody. My Hero Academia is allegedly ending, right? And I know that when Chainsaw Man was ending, I don't think part 2 was announced. I just think we were told that Chainsaw Man was ending, right? So that leaves some people with some faith that My Hero Academia is going to have a part 2. I think the way that you do that is the way that I just said, right? Of Kurogiri or Shirakumo taking back control of his body and saving everyone from a very, very crucial moment or something like that, and kind of like sending them to train in other places and learn about other cultures and stuff like that. But at the same time, I really, really feel like it would be more satisfying to have the ending where, you know, they win and they bring everything back to the way that it's supposed to be and they don't fail the population and stuff like that. So to really get back onto the main question, will Shirakumo regain control of his body? I think maybe potentially that's something we could see in like the epilogue or anything like that. Maybe we'll see like in the future, because I do believe maybe we'll get like a final chapter kind of set a little forward in time, right, when the series is ending. Maybe we'll see that Shirakumo has kind of regained control of his body, or maybe Quirk Science has advanced to the point where they could do something for him. But I do think that, like, Kurogiri is there to stay no matter what. Like, maybe we could see a very, like, Mark Spector situation where Kurogiri is there and Shirakumo is there, and they kind of have to, like, allow each other to have time in the body or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like Kurogiri and Shirakumo are in a very, very difficult situation. I don't know if there's any way to break them free of that, and for Aizawa and President Mike to really get their friend back. But that's my question to you guys. Do you think that Shirakumo has a chance of regaining his body? Or do you think that Kurogiri is going to remain the dominant personality, I guess, inside of that body? Question number 4, Unsolved Mystery number 4 is going to be, how will the Public Safety Commission change under new leadership? We know that a Redestro Twice clone pretty much attacked the Hero Public Safety Commission, right? And ever since then, I believe we saw who the new leader was. I think it's there's this really like sunken face kind of looking guy who just kind of looks like almost like another Gorillaz reference, but not quite, right? Like not quite there. Who we've seen, I believe, in meetings with like Aizawa, when Aizawa had to like apologize to the public and stuff before. We've definitely seen him a couple times. I just don't remember his name because he's not really an important character. I guess now he is, but like he hasn't really been up until this point. But there's this guy that we know as a character who is now in charge of the Public Hero Safety Commission instead of the Hillary Clinton looking woman that was in charge of it before, leading it in a very, very like scary direction. And my question to you, I guess again, is do you think that that is going to carry significant changes in the Hero Public Safety Commission, or do you think it's just going to go like back to business as usual, right? Like they've taken heroes like Hawks and Nagan and pretty much turned them into killing puppets. Do you think they're still going to keep doing that after everything is said and done? Or do you think that now with having a person that we've seen kind of like by Aizawa's side to a certain extent, like a person who seems a little like Shikamaru-esque in the fact that they come off as very lazy, but they're actually very, very smart, and they just like, I don't want to be bothered with any of this, but like they're actually very, very intelligent once pressed. Do you think that they're going to be carrying putting out anything like that? Or do you think we could potentially see a new era for the Public Hero Safety Commission where, you know, they take kind of more of a back foot and kind of allow for heroes to actually do their job, right? While working together with society, right? To kind of figure out who's who and like who needs to actually be taken care of or who needs to actually be saved. Because one thing that we're learning from kind of the main motive of like all the students and all the characters in this final arc is a lot of them are trying to save people who otherwise would be killed pretty much by pro heroes in any other situation. So like that kind of tells me that moving forward, we don't need a Hero Public Safety Commission when it comes to like hiring heroes or like not really hiring, I guess kidnapping heroes to then turn into assassins. I don't think we really need that going on in society. I feel like that's going to breed more villains in the future, right? So hopefully under new leadership, it'll change. But I guess that's kind of my question to you guys, right? Like, do you think it is going to change under that new leadership, or do you think we're going to see another Hawks or another Nagan in the future? And do you think with those two characters still being alive, hopefully by the end of this war arc, but at least right now they are, do you think either of those two could come out publicly and kind of trash the Hero Public Safety Commission with all the information that they have, while also trashing, I guess, their own reputations, right? Like after that, it's hard for people to not be like, oh, those two are assassins. You know what I mean? Like Hawks and Nagan are assassins. Okay. Like, they're not really quite heroes, you know what I mean? Well, some other people might find them really cool also, but I feel like most people are going to be like, ooh, kind of unforgivable what you guys did, you know? You guys are doing all this stuff in secret and hiding it from us, and people in public generally don't like when you hide things from them. So, especially if you're like a governmental figure, like kind of, I guess, heroes to a certain extent in this world are, especially when they're working for the Hero Public Safety Commission, which I guess is the closest thing that we have to like a hero government in My Hero Academia. And finally, the last unsolved mystery for this video is going to be, what will Shoto's final hero name be? I think this is a very, very topical subject right now, since we're seeing Shoto kind of finally accepting himself, accepting who he is, accepting both sides of his power, and taking down Toya as it seems, right? It seems like he might actually be saving his brother with a technique that completely gets rid of flames. But with that said, we know that Shoto itself is a placeholder hero name, right? Like, obviously that's his real name, but if you remember early on in the series when everyone was picking hero names, Shoto gave himself the hero name Shoto as kind of like a placeholder because he didn't want to like, he didn't really know who he was at that point, pretty much, right? Like, obviously, you're not going to name yourself Endeavor 2.0 when you hate your father. You're not going to go the Ingenium route or anything like that, right? Like, he had yet to figure out kind of who he was as a person and who he was as a hero. But now at this point in the series, we know that Shoto has very, very much learned who he is. We see him really coming into his own as a hero in this arc and kind of like over the course of the series as his family drama has been dealt with. He's really, really just kind of like figuring it out. I don't know like what other way to say that, you know what I mean? Like he's figuring it out. He's been figuring it out the whole series. Shoto's kind of slow, but this is a very, very heavy, personal, kind of like tough to deal with situation, and it would be understandable if he took way longer to deal with it. But here in this kind of instance where you have to deal with it because you're being pushed to by your supervillain brother, right, and your superhero father and all this stuff going on, I'm really, really glad to see Shoto kind of finally become the hero that he's supposed to be, to a certain extent, especially after Toya or Dabi pretty much telling him you'll never amount to anything because you went and hid with all the other civilians and stuff like a little baby. But again, that all puts us in a situation where we really have to wonder, will Shoto take Endeavor's hero name, right, if Endeavor dies against All for One, right? Like, will he become the new Endeavor, or will it be a fusion of maybe Endeavor and Ray's name, or like something like that, right? Or like something entirely new, like a fusion that becomes something entirely new that just has characters that kind of incorporate both of them into his name. And Endeavor would be lucky if his name is incorporated into Shoto's hero name at all, right? But I feel like it's possible. I've seen some people throw a bunch of hero names around for Shoto. I don't like a lot of them. So please, in the comment section below, let me know what you think Shoto's hero name would be if he changes it from Shoto. I'm pretty sure he's going to. We ended up getting Bakugo's hero name, and you know, Bakugo and Shoto have always kind of been like this pair of friends, or this pair of goofballs in the series who progress to a similar extent, right, at a similar rate. So I do think sooner or later we are going to get Shoto's final hero name, especially after this whole situation with Dabi is like taken care of. Maybe he'll be like, you just got saved by your brother Shoto, but also the hero, blah, 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 or like reveal it in some certain way, maybe much less corny than that. That was awful. But again, what do you think Shoto's hero name is going to be in My Hero Academia? That is my final question for you guys, or unsolved mystery left in the series for this video. But of course, if you guys hit 600 likes on this video and 100 comments, I will come back with the next part, which is obviously going to be be another 5 Unsolved Mysteries or even more, or whatever I can figure out for the title, right? Because it's hard not naming these all the same thing. So that's everything, guys. It's Pineapple here. I'll see you guys later. Sorry again for the little leave of absence. I was working a lot of shifts and my computer is just like, man, like it's bad. So I'll see you guys later. Hopefully it's Pineapple. Peace.